Welcome to the TNF podcast. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Click on that bell for notifications. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us a follow and give us a rating. That would be fantastic. All right. I want to promote a few things. My friend Johnny Miami of the band OS 101 Hogan's Heroes, John Cuccinello, he's got this book. It's called Come Inside and Meet My Punk Rock Family. And it chronicles all the people that he has met within the hardcore and punk rock scene in a cartoon comic book fashion. As you can see there's Keith Morris of Circle Jerks and Black Flag. And the proceeds from this book are going to be benefiting the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. 12% of the profits will go towards them. So you can go on over to revhq.com, pick up a copy. They are limited press, so get one while they're available, while they're hot. As I had mentioned on the show before, my friend Lou Collar from Sick of It All is battling cancer. It went into remission and then it came back with a lot more additional cancer. His brother Pete has posted up a GoFundMe, and he's also selling shirts, Lou and Pete edition Sick of It All shirts. You can go over there, purchase one for $30, or you can get two for $50. That's on Pete's Instagram. I'll be posting the links in the comments, and I'll also have a QR code to the actual GoFundMe. I'll post that during the show. So please help out. We all support each other in the hardcore scene. I think that's kind of the best thing about it, is that we have such a strong community and we're all kind of here for each other. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about this, is just the united brotherhood, sisterhood, all that stuff. So please help. My guest today, he's really awesome dude. I've been talking to him offline, and he has been doing something really unique. And that's one of the things that I like about having guests on the show, is when they bring a unique perspective to the hardcore scene and they're trying to do something different. And this had caught my attention because I saw a lot of the bands and artists posting their trading cards. And what they are is they'll take a picture of the band and say what take a picture of the band member, say what band they're from, and just some random facts about them in like a trading card form, like baseball cards or, any sort of collector's item like that. So I thought that was really cool. And so I think that's, again, I'm really interested in things like that. Um, so joining me today, I'm really pleased to have him as a guest on this show, of the Hardcore Legends trading cards and also of the band Kuya, Joshua Hurst.
Yes, nobody wants the mind. Strong-handed, control. And die. Fuck yeah!
Thanks for being here, Joshua.
Hey, nice to be here.
Do you go by Joshua or Josh, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. Josh is fine.
Josh is fine. Okay, just wanted to make sure, because, I go by, my real name is John, but some people call me Jonathan. I'm like, well, it's not Jonathan, but whatever. I don't care. Just don't call me an asshole, But dude, I want to thank you so much for being here. What's going on? You're up in Rhode Island?
Yes. Yep.
What's been new with you, man?
I've been I spent almost the whole day today working on cards. It's what I do pretty much at least every Sunday, if not multiple days during the week. I think I posted one today, and I've got at least one more to post. But that's what I've been doing today.
With the cards, is that something that you ever hope to do in like a physical format? Because I know you do it virtually, and I think you had actually mentioned that you wanted to do it, but in the future, do you think that's going to be kind of the standard?
Well, actually, you just mentioned Lou and his the fundraisers and stuff for him. That was actually one of it wasn't the idea for this whole thing, but it was one of the early things we did. I did um, 300 packages of actual Sick of It All cards. BJ Pappas gave me all the photos to use, and I had them printed at a Staples. They printed and cut them. Then I hand assembled them and glued them shut. There's a stick of gum in every one. And he ended up selling, I don't remember how many actually sold. I rounded the number up, but the Dropkick Murphys and Rancid had donated $5,000 each to the charity. So I donated 5,001 so that we could be the one above them. But we basically raised $5,000 selling those cards to people all over the world.
Oh, that's cool.
So yes, I
That's
guess
awesome.
the answer kind of is there are physical ones. I did something similar for the band Pentagram. They just paid me to do it, and then they had them printed. And
cool.
I got I don't know, I got prototypes and stuff. So I've been trying to do it myself, which is proving to be difficult, but I got prototypes of people and all kinds of stuff. But the shorter answer is yes. The goal is to actually make cards. I haven't really had any issues with photographers on Instagram, but I also wouldn't make cards to sell without photographers' permission. So I have a few photographers that I've been talking to because I know it can't make enough money to really pay anyone, and I'd like there to be some charitable aspect to it. I'm leaning towards Punk Rock Saves Lives for when I make an actual set of cards, but that's the plan. So hopefully in the near future.
Awesome. That sounds really awesome, man. Like I said, you're doing a different thing, and you're also doing it for a benevolent purpose. And I think that's really cool when hardcore bands can do that. Kind of put put others before themselves. I think that's really cool. One thing I wanted to mention too before we get into it, I forgot to mention this at the top of the hour. Is something I typically plug. I have a merchandising company, Hell's Heart Merch Co. And as you can see at the bottom there, go on over to hellsheartco.bigcartel.com. Use code podcast for 20% off of your entire order. They're fine Belly Canvas Next Level Tri-Blend t-shirts. They feel amazing. You like movies, you like hardcore, pick one up. The profits from the shirts are going to be going to Lou from Sick of It All's Cancer Recovery Fund on GoFundMe. So you can donate there, or you can buy a shirt, and I will donate the proceeds to his recovery fund. So extra incentive to get a cool shirt and to help out a really awesome guy. So I forgot to mention that, but so my first question for you, Josh, is what's your relationship with hardcore and music? Like, what was playing in your household while you were growing up? Did you have family members that played music? Did you play in any sort of high school bands? And then what was your first non-metal and non-hardcore concert? And then how did that kind of lead into you going to hardcore and punk rock shows?
My mom and dad definitely liked music. My mom was big on Bob Seger and the Rolling Stones, Eric Clapton. My dad liked the Beatles. Frank Zappa, Cream, The Who, a lot of stuff like that. So I grew up with a lot of music. My grandmother and grandfather had one of the big console record players that I used to listen to music on, but partially because it was fun to play with it and slide the door and stuff. But a lot of music in the car too. And then my dad was a drummer, and my mom's father, my grandfather on that side, played saxophone in the Navy band. So there's those two. I had my earliest. I got a bass probably when I was about 13 or 14. I took like 5 lessons and quit because they wanted to teach me how to play and not how to play a song. So it kind of it kind of sat in the corner for a while, and then I met some punk kids in junior high. Like I was a metalhead, so I met some punk kids in junior high, and they played. It was a guitar player and a drummer, and it was like, well, I can go over there and they'll teach me how to play. So I started playing with them, and that's how that kind of started. Um, I don't have the same story most people do as far as like a first concert, because the first concert I ever went to see was Kiss. Um, Kiss 1983, the Creatures of the Night tour, the last original tour with makeup, and I was 8 years old. And that was the show was in January, and I got the tickets for Christmas. That was my Christmas present. And the second one after that was I was 13, so like 4 years later, and it was Alice Cooper. So I know I've been to some non-metal concerts, but definitely not early ones like that.
Kiss was your lead-in, and that is actually a common story in here. That Kiss is kind of a common denominator for a lot of the members of bands that have been on this show, because they were so inspirational and they were doing something that was completely different from regular rock music at the time. So you're definitely not alone in that regard. But no, I mean, that's a really cool first concert to be able to like go attend as a kid. Like how are you feeling about that? Was that just like
Oh,
completely amazing?
I was so excited. I'll be honest, I don't remember too much visually about it. But I actually, somewhere behind me, there's a bootleg album of the concert that I was at. It was at the Worcester
Oh
Centrum,
wow.
January 1983. The bootleg sounds horrendous, but I bought it because it was that concert. The
Sure.
opening band was Night Ranger. With the
I
bummer
remember them.
there,
Sister Christian.
yep.
Yeah.
The bummer there is that on earlier dates of that Kiss tour, the Plasmatics actually opened. So the
Oh,
Plasmatics could have been the first live band I ever saw, but unfortunately it was Night Ranger instead.
It's funny. I had a guy that was training me whenever I used to work for Whole Foods, and he claimed that he was once the bassist for Night Ranger. And this
Wow.
guy didn't look like he had any affiliation with metal. He just looked like a khaki wearing boomer or something like that. And I was like, I mean, I took it with a grain of salt. I was like, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, you
funnier
never
things
know.
have, yeah, I don't remember what his name was, but I don't know. Just kind of funny. But so you went and saw that show, and then you said you met some punk kids. Was that like, were they the ones to bring you kind of the more underground punk and hardcore shows?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I knew a little bit because I was a metalhead, and like Metallica had covered the Misfits and Megadeth covered the Sex Pistols, and seeing those guys wearing shirts and talking about bands and stuff. So I knew a little bit, but it was those guys that I started playing with, and then they took me to my first hardcore show, which was Murphy's Law. Um, so I had a good start there too.
Yeah, good one to start with for sure.
Yeah,
What
I
did you remember like of the punk rock scene? Like, what was your kind of takeaway from that? Was it? I mean, it had to be in an era where it was a little bit more crazy and unrestrained.
Yeah, that would have been 80. I can't remember if it was 88 or 89, but it was when Back with a Bong had come out somewhat recently. And I still, again, somewhere in this room I have the shirt from that show. Um I remember being a little bit scared because the only things I had seen that represented that at all were like some videos on MTV, and it was like it looks like a giant fight. Um, but I also I ended up right in the front, and then ended up on the stage, like sitting on the stage, and just thinking like this is amazing, until there was too many people on the stage, and they were like, okay, you got to go, and I was like, I don't even know what that means, and eventually they just picked me up and threw me, and that was like head first into the fire, so to speak. because I
Yeah.
had no idea what was going on. I ended up coming home that night. We took the bus there and then took the bus back home. I got home, was drenched in beer, and my mom and dad never questioned anything. And I've been straight edge my whole life. So I guess they trust. I always say they were like the parents who give you enough rope to hang yourself. And when you hang yourself, you're in trouble. And I never ran out of rope because I just kind of stayed out of trouble.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's really funny. I mean, if I were a parent, I would be like, what the hell were you getting into, type thing.
Yeah. I mean, I had to have smelled, and I mean, I wasn't dripping when I got home because it was a decent bus ride, but I was still wet and stinking like hell, I'm sure.
Oh man, that's
I ended up with
crazy.
a
That's fun.
drumstick. I have a Dougie Beans drumstick from that show too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot
So
of
is that
junk.
kind of is that is that kind of what led you into, like, because as hardcore people, we do like to kind of collect things and have memorabilia. Like, what kind of inspired you to start the hardcore Legends trading cards? Like, what was that kind of like your love for hardcore and music memorabilia?
No, I work at a comic book shop on Saturdays, and I said I think it would be funny if I made trading cards of all the like regular people that hang out here. So I did that, just the fronts. And after I did that, um, a friend of mine who owns a record store called Purchase Street Records in New Bedford, Mass. He has a band called All Sinners, and they're like an '80s metal band, like not like hair metal, but like Dawkins style. And I don't know
Sure.
if you remember, but I think they would have been in the '90s. There was these trading cards that were like heavy metal bands, and there was a Cro-Mags card actually in that set. Um, there was Junkyard, which had Brian Baker from Minor Threat on it, but then it was like Winger and Poison, like all bands like that.
Warrant.
So, yep, exactly. I took that template and I made cards of my friend's band, and I just posted them on his Facebook. And he called me like an hour later and was like, "What the hell did you do to me? I got all these people sending me messages. How do I buy the cards?" And it was through him that we facilitated so these are the ones. These were before the Sick of It All cards. So he was able to figure out how we print them, and that started that. And then after I did that, I was like, boy, it'd be kind of funny to do like hardcore bands as trading cards. So I started doing just the fronts and posting them just on my regular Facebook page. And I had a couple of friends. I have a group text that has basically everybody that used to play for Slapshot in it. And we get like 100 texts a day. And one of the guys, his name's Hank, he actually drove the van for Slapshot in the early days. And he was like, "Well, you got to start doing the backs." And I was like, "Oh, that's going to be a lot of work." And he's like, "It doesn't matter. You should do it." I was like, "Okay." And I started doing it. And at first it was like a joke. It was like, "Oh, this isn't going to matter." And then, I started the Instagram page specifically for it. And all of a sudden it was like 1,000 followers, 2,000 followers, 5,000 followers. And now it's been it's been less than a year and a half, and it's getting close to 25,000 followers. So people
Awesome.
liked it.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's great. Like, I think it's so creative and cool,
It did start just as not a joke to make a joke of the people or the bands, but really just like as a joke, like, oh, this is funny because these people in bands don't belong on trading cards.
Right.
And as
You
hard,
started it like half seriously.
yeah, and
Yeah.
as many real hardcore legends as there are in the set, the first card was actually Adam Yout from the Beastie Boys.
Oh wow.
And I don't even know why he popped into my head first, but he was card number one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, you think about it, Beastie Boys have, I mean, immense ties to the hardcore scene. That
Oh,
was one of the
absolutely.
things when I was listening to the Beastie Boys growing up, because I was familiar with their hip hop stuff like that. And then you go back further in their discography and it's total hardcore punk rock. And it was just like, what? This is the same band? And then,
Yep.
to see them on, I think it was Letterman or Leno or one of those late night shows, actually playing instruments and playing, like, I think they did like a medley of some of their songs, and they were playing some of their punk rock stuff
Yep.
with their hip hop stuff, so I mean, you think about it, they're kind of one of the progenitors of all of it. They came in like one of the, like, first waves of hardcore back in the day.
Oh yeah. It just seemed like, in hindsight, it looks like an odd choice, but
Sure.
I play bass. I like Adam Yout. I can't remember when Adam Yout's birthday is or when he passed. I don't know if that was why it was in my head, but yeah, he was card number one.
That's awesome. Well, if you're hardcore and punk rock, like anybody will get it. But yeah, with playing music too, like your project Kuya, was that your first official project? Like, how did that get started, or did you
Oh
have
no.
anything proto bands? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, in high school, my first band was, I guess, like a kind of Sex Pistolsy punk band, because that's what the two kids that I met liked the most. And they were like, I learned about all the early bands from them, mainly from just watching over and over The Decline of Western Civilization Part 1. So Fear, The Germs, Black Flag, The Circle Jerks, TSOL, like all those early bands. And we had a band called Raid. Then we found out that there was another, well, obviously there's a million bands called Raid, I'm sure. We actually picked Raid because Black Flag is Bug Spray and Raid was Bug Spray. So we
Right.
picked Raid. And then I became friends with another kid from school that lived right in that same area too. And he liked more, I learned about hardcore from him, and like other weird stuff too, like the Dickies and the Melvins and stuff like that. So he liked more hardcore stuff, and we had to change the name of the band. So we changed the name of the band to Double Bogey. And at that point, I had found out about Slapshot, and they've been one of my favorite bands forever. So I was like, well, they have crossed hockey sticks. We'll be Double Bogey, and it'll be crossed golf clubs. So we did that. I think we played one show that was like a talent show. Um, After that, I actually had what in hindsight are vaguely embarrassing new metal bands, but we were always ahead of the curve. Like, I had a band that had, first we had a DJ, but he wasn't really a DJ because he didn't know how to do it. So we decided he was going to do samples. But we would bring like a like a gateway tower computer and a full like tube monitor to shows, and the sound man had no idea what was going on, and he would just click a mouse clicking samples. And that was probably like 91, 92. So I don't even know what kind of music we were playing. Nobody knew what we were. But Kuya was actually, it was probably 12 years ago or so. I hadn't played in a while. Well, I played bass for Slapshot for one tour.
Oh, cool.
Because I became friends with those guys, and I started designing merch for them, and then they took me out as a roadie. And then it was a period where the band was kind of falling apart, and it was like, oh, we need a bass player. So it was like almost like volleyball, like, okay, rotate in. And I played bass for one tour. Then I hadn't played for a while, and a couple of local people wanted to do a Warzone tribute for a Halloween show. So I went and I learned the songs, and we played that show, and then we started writing new songs. We were The Struggle, as the Warzone tribute, and then that band started to fall apart a little bit, and some members changed, and we changed the name of the band to, well, basically I wanted to change the name of the band to Kuya, which is it's a Tagalog word from the Philippines, which means brother. I have a very, very good friend who has pretty severe autism, and he actually lives in California, but his family is from the Philippines, and they call him Kuya, so the band is named after him.
Oh, cool.
But that's
awesome.
that's pretty much all the bands for the most part, what I did.
Did you guys do any sort of nationwide touring, and what was kind of the response to that?
No, we just play. I've never been in, except for the Slapshot tour that I did, which was in Europe. That's really all I ever did.
Oh, wow. What was playing in Europe like for you?
It was cool. It was intimidating because it's like I've known at that point I had known the Slapshot guys for quite a while, but it's still like this is like I can't screw this up, you know. Like my set list, I kept my set list way in the back near my amp, and it had all, even though I knew the songs, it had all kinds of cheat notes on it, like, you know, like a security blanket in case.
Huh.
So it was intimidating, but not by the people in the band. It was like me putting it on myself,
Just for
kind
you.
of. But
Right.
it was pretty awesome, and we played some small club shows. One of them was like a pretty big festival. That was kind of amazing to be on a stage that big and see, you know, I don't know, thousands of people, whether they cared about the band that was playing or not. They were all standing there, you know. So
Yeah.
it was pretty amazing.
That's awesome. Did you have any countries that you particularly enjoyed playing in, or that you even just enjoyed being a part of touring around and seeing the culture?
Um yeah, I'm the places I had been either with them like as a roadie or playing. Germany was probably my favorite. Like Berlin was very cool. Um, and England, like I know we were in London, and then somewhere in Scotland. Those were pretty cool. It seems like most hardcore bands when they tour, most of it is very heavy in like Northern Europe, like the Netherlands and stuff. So we did a lot of stuff over there. But I went on some great trips. The first tour they took me on as a roadie, it was Slapshot, Blood for Blood, and the Blue Bloods from Boston. Then one was Champion and Some Kind of Hate. Um, One was a real big one. Slapshot only played like the last handful of shows, but it was Sick of It All, 7 Seconds, Slapshot, Walls of Jericho, and Unearthed. Um, that was, all of them were a great time. I think the first tour was the best because I had never been to Europe, so I had never seen any of that stuff. So that was kind of the coolest one. But they were all great trips, and I'm very grateful that they took me.
You have any sort of crazy tour stories as far as being a roadie or playing on that Slapshot tour? Did you have anything
Uh,
wild story
the
wise?
the last show on that 7 seconds Sick of It All one, it was being videoed for. It came out as a DVD. It was the East Pack Resistance tour, and the last show, it was like every band was like 110%, and Choke from Slapshot, he had one of his sawed off hockey sticks, and he's hitting himself in the head and like bleeding way more than he wanted to bleed. Um, and I remember the Mark, the drummer, who's one of my good friends, was looking at him, and Choke would turn around and face him and hit himself, and Mark be like, no, 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 until it was enough that it was bleeding. And Mark went no like one or too many times, and it was like fully busted open.
Oh,
Um,
geez.
he didn't end up needing stitches, but that was pretty crazy. And then that same show, Sick of It All was doing, I know they've done it everywhere, but the Braveheart, where they separate the crowd and they make them run at each other. At that show, they did it so it was the left and the right and the front and the back on the floor, and then they had the left and the right of the stage. So there was like the six-way Braveheart, and there was so many people on the stage that Lou was on the drum riser, and Craig and Pete were basically like up on their amps almost, because there was probably 80 to 100 people on the stage. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that sounds like it, man. Now you had mentioned that with doing the cards, you got inspired to do it by people that had frequented the comic book store.
Yep.
Who are some of the people that were regulars within that store, and what sort of comic books did they read?
Well, it's like it's a fully functional comic book store, but on Saturday, if you walk in there on a Saturday, it's like it's almost like a sitcom. Like the same people are always there, and it'll be me and one of my good friends, Paul, and we just lean up against, one of the rack or one of the bins. And there's people that call us Jay and Silent Bob because we're just always there. And then the owner who works there and his partner who works there, like his partner in the store, them. And then there's just this like cast of characters, there's a guy his name is Bob. He buys primarily Marvel books instead of DC or independent books. So he's Marvel Bob. And there's this other guy who I don't even know his name, but he comes in and he'll just be in the store and he'll just start doing like Tai Chi in the store, like these stretching exercises, assumingly for attention, which nobody gives him. So we call him Stretchy Guy. And they're like everybody has like a nickname like that. And that's why I was like, I think this would be funny. So I made a template of the cards and just started inserting the photos and posted them on the Instagram for the store, and people loved it. People were asking the owner like during the week, like, "Oh, how come I didn't get a card?" And and each
Does
of those
Stretchy Guy have a card?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. But anybody that I could find a photo of has a card, and they all have like it's their name and then like their thing, I guess. So like my friend Tyler, who works there sometimes, his says the movie guy because he has hundreds and hundreds of DVDs and goes to the movies 5 times a week. And the name of the store is Rubber Chicken Comics. So Jay, the owner, his card says the head chicken. It really is it's like a sitcom at this point.
Sure. Whenever you said the Jay and Silent Bob analogy, because just based on comic book stores, there was a comic book store that I used to go to every so often in LA, and just guys would just be there and hang out. It is like a Kevin Smith movie or something.
Yeah.
You've got this whole like cast of characters that like kind of frequents the store and just kind of comes in and out, and they've got their own like the milkmaid in Clerks, the woman that would like like they've got all these names for them and stuff.
Yeah, there's a guy who he won't get a subscription. So like if you get a subscription, when the new books come in, they pull all the books you want and they put them in a box with your name on them. And there's a guy who buys like 20, 30 different books a week, and he can't always be there super early. So sometimes stuff will sell out before he gets there, and he doesn't want a subscription because he will flip through every copy to find the best one that's there. And that's the one he's going to buy. But he doesn't want anybody else to pick it for him,
He wants it like the best one as far as condition wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
right.
But I mean, and we're talking about brand new books, not things that are, immediately valuable or old or anything. But that's his thing. He wants the best one that's on the rack, and he's going to pick it out himself, and that's it. But I mean,
So weird.
the whole thing is, I think anybody that has a hobby like that, that they're that into, is eccentric in some way, and that's basically what you see. You see their eccentricities.
Right. They're very specific about their tastes and things like that. And, there was, let me give you another example. There was this guy, I don't know if you're familiar with the New Beverly Cinema.
No.
It's Quentin Tarantino's movie theater.
Oh, okay.
And he would do, I mean, they still do it. They would play 35 millimeter films, and they'll do matinees, and they'll do evening showings, and there's something playing every day. Well, a buddy of mine, a few buddies of mine, and I went to this showing, and like you said, there's like a cast of characters that goes there. There's always somebody with their weird eccentricities and quirks and things like that. This guy was the seat guy, and he would come in and he would just be looking for like the perfect seat, but he didn't care who he disrupted while he was doing that. There could be
Yep.
people that were already seated. It could be the show would almost be ready, and he would be like just coming in the aisle, just trying to like, oh, can I sit here? Can I sit? Like, I don't know, just like all over the place. And it's like, pick a seat, dude, and sit
Yep.
down. Like, we're gonna be doing this all fucking, night. Like, and it just weird. I think art kind of attracts a lot of people with those sort of eccentricities
Yep.
and very, like, it's almost like it attracts a lot of people on some sort of spectrum disorder, because like it's it's just weird like that.
It's funny. My real job, I work with disabled adults, and I worked in a day program until 2020. It closed in 2020, and now I work directly with two different families where I go to their house and I hang out with their kids, but they're both in their 30s, and we just do whatever. We go places, we go out to lunch, we go outside. It's a girl named Jade and a guy named Sean that I work with. Sean takes guitar lessons and keyboard lessons and drum lessons, and somebody else actually took him. I was at the show too, but somebody else took him to see Murphy's Law not long ago. Jimmy pulled him up on the stage and he was singing. So like you said, when I'm at the comic shop, I see those things that I saw in the day program. So it's exactly what you just said. And it's not a negative on anybody, because really, if something, it's funny when they say, blah, blah, blah is on the spectrum. It's like, well, if it's a spectrum, everyone is on it.
Everybody is
You
on
might
it.
be
Yes.
at 0 and he might be at 100, but you're
At 100,
on it.
yeah.
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 You could be a 0, you could be 100, you could be a 50, but if it's a spectrum, then
Right.
everyone is on it.
Yeah, exactly. And like I have a very hyper, like, specific interest in movies. Like, I could talk about movies all day, and people are like, he's weird. He's like you said, the movie guy,
Yep.
like people would be like, what's a movie if I want to watch gratuitous nudity and decapitations and thing, and I could just name a random, like, I'd have to think about it maybe for a minute, but then I could think of like a film title or something, or can name somebody with name a director's like entire catalog starting with their first film and stuff.
Yep.
And like you said, there's not necessarily anything wrong with it. It's just like a very hyper passionate attitude towards something that other people might find to be kind of abnormal or whatever. But if you're kind of within that collective of people, you get it.
Yep. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, everybody, even people that don't think they have their thing, have a thing. They may not know about it, or they may not be as passionate about it as you are with movies or somebody is with comic books, but they still have something.
Sure. Yeah. Who's got the best taste in comics, like genre wise or character wise, or books that they purchased? that's in a hardcore band that this audience would know?
Oh,
Like who like you're just like, oh man, that guy likes good books or that girl likes good books.
I mean, we keep going back to him, but Lou Kohler has some good taste. I actually saw him not that long ago talking about it, and I mean, it was there was a couple of the obvious ones, like, you know, the Thing and the Hulk, but he had some other ones. The other one that I go to, and I picked up some of the stuff because he recommended it in one of the old home videos, but Danzig. Um, Danzig talked about like Animal Man and stuff that isn't obscure, but just I wouldn't have thought of. Like Animal Man was a DC book, but it's not Batman, it's not, you know, Spider-Man, so I probably wouldn't have necessarily been super aware of it. Um, it's funny, I actually don't read that much, even though I'm at the store one day a week.
Mhm.
My favorite comic it's called Strangers in Paradise. It ended a while ago, but it's like it's almost like a love triangle uh with like some mafia stuff, and it's a weird story, but it's not superheroes, it's not fantasy, it's not science fiction, it's just people. But that's my favorite.
That could be some of the most interesting stuff too. There was actually a comic, and help me out here. You may have been familiar with this comic, but it was a guy who had a brother, and he was like, I don't know if he was like autistic or something like that, but the brother that wasn't autistic learned the ability to astral project into his brother's brain so that he could communicate with him on like a
Oh
normal
wow.
level. Does this sound familiar?
No, but I'm gonna try to figure it out later.
Okay. This might be an extremely like indie comic. Like I think that it may have actually been like I don't think it was by anybody that would have been, you know, like super well known
Hmm.
or renowned or anything like that. But I was just like, wow, that sounds super interesting. And I'm with you. Like I loved like yeah, superheroes are cool, but it's really cool to kind of take the graphic novel and actually do something that's a little bit more grounded and down to earth like that.
Yeah, and if it's not gonna be, then like the Max is one of my favorites. I honestly can't tell you what it's about because I don't know if I really understand it, but it was fun to read and it was really fun to watch when it was on MTV. Um,
Max. Was that one of the like the
was
when they
like
did
one
the
of the
MTV animation
yeah,
like Eon Flux and stuff?
yes, he was one of
Yeah.
those. It was Eon Flux, the Head, and the Max, and the Max like a giant purple monster kind of, but not a scary looking monster,
Right, right.
and
Yeah.
he like you're never sure because he goes to see a social worker because he has schizophrenia, and you're never sure like does he really look like this or does he think he looks like this? And
Right. Yeah. I remember that whole block of animation and I
yeah,
loved
that was
Eon
weird
Flux.
stuff.
I wish they had done more with that cartoon because I loved the animation style and I loved how um Eon and who was the bad guy? What was his
I can
name?
picture him, but I can't remember.
Yeah, well, how she and him always had this like frenemy,
Yep.
but frenemy, it like friends with benefits, like a frenemy type situation where they would like fuck sometimes, and then other times they would be each other. You know, like that was the weirdest dynamic to me, but I
It
loved it,
was.
and I wish they had done more with that. Like I never saw the movie, but I'm like one season, I'm like, come on, you know, like just sucks. But you know, as far as like the state of comic book movies, and when you talk about obscure and unknown comic book characters, one that came to mind for me was whenever they did the Suicide Squad and there was
uh,
Polka Dot Man, and I thought
yeah.
that was the most ridiculous shit ever. But he was a real character. I was like,
Yep.
this is a real thing, and he's old. He's like from like the 50s or 60s or
Yeah. Oh,
something like that. I was like,
there's a
what?
lot like that. Yeah. There's a lot, especially DC, because Batman had so many crazy villains like that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I actually went and watched this YouTube video where they were talking about, because you think about Joker and Penguin and Scarecrow and all those ones that are like, pretty well known. But
Yeah.
they went through this whole gamut of Batman villains that I'd never even heard of. And I love Batman. I mean, not so much like I've not, I'm going to be honest, I'm not like an avid comic book reader. I wish I was, but, there's like a whole back catalog of stuff that I would have to read in order to get caught up. Like my relationship with Batman was through the 89 Michael Keaton film, and then I
Yep.
was super into it because of that. But like, you go through this whole history of Batman, this whole legacy of Batman, and there's just so many. And I'm like, why don't they mine from this? Why do they keep going back to Joker? Like I know he's like the major antagonist to Batman, but it's like do something different,
Yeah.
why not?
I think
What's kind of
it's recognizability. I think that when you're talking about something like that, it's about marketing. And like, you saw Polka Dot Man and you were like, what the hell is this? And now you may have liked it when you saw the movie, but if you just saw the poster and it was like Batman's gonna fight a guy with polka dots, like, I'm not gonna go see this one. But if it's
right,
Batman and the
right.
Joker, everybody's gonna go.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on like current day superhero movies, and like who do you think's kind of doing it right as far as films are concerned, as far as like episodic television is concerned? Who do you think's hitting it, and who do you think is just like not
I
very
I
interesting or not very good?
I loved all the early Marvel movies up to like Infinity War and including that and the couple after. And then there was some that I was just like, I don't care about these people. And you know what? It's exactly what you just said. It was, I was excited at the beginning because it's like, oh, I know who Iron Man is. Oh, I know who Thor is. I know who Black Panther is. But then it's like, oh, I don't know who these people are, so I don't care as much. Um, and a lot of the DC movies in general, I didn't really like then, but now it seems like it's kind of reversing. And unless Marvel, like, I don't know what Marvel has. I guess Marvel has to bring back the characters that they know people want to see,
Right.
which probably means rebooting things because you've got people that are too old to play the characters at this point. But I haven't seen it yet, but I heard the new Superman movie is great. And I heard it leads into the second season of Peacemaker, which the first season of Peacemaker was probably the best comic book TV show, or most entertaining, at least for me. So I got to watch Superman and then start Peacemaker season two.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I spend most of my time watching like little known sitcoms. Like, I just watched CPO Sharky, which was Don Rickles in the Navy in the 70s. And I watched the Method Man Red Man sitcom, which I think had like 6 episodes.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I watch a lot of bad stuff like that. That 80s show, the spin-off from that 70s show, which I think had
Never saw
only
it.
one season. It takes place in a record store. It's actually not bad, but
Was
I
it the
guess it,
characters from that 70s show like
nope.
continued?
No, it
No, it's
was
just completely
totally
different.
yep. Just a period piece placed in the 80s. Um, but it didn't last. I watch a lot of stuff like that because there's less commitment. It's like, oh, there's only one season of this. I can watch that.
Right. Well, and that's how I am with movies. Like I actually have a hard time watching series because it is so much commitment. The last series I watched in its entirety was Andor, and that's
Oh yeah.
just because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I think that Disney's been largely inappropriately handling the property, but I do think that that was one that they just completely knocked out of the park. Not only has it been one of the best pieces of Star Wars material I've seen, I would even hazard to say since the original trilogy, but I think it's some of the best television I've ever seen, and well deserved Emmys. You know, that whole series, like I guess they did really well at the Emmys. Completely well deserved. I think that they were Tony Gilroy and the whole crew that were behind that just completely knocked it out of the park. Fucking amazing, you know. But go ahead.
I really liked The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. I know there was stuff that wasn't right and that people didn't like about it. And I know, like, I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan, so I know enough stuff that there was stuff that I was like, oh, come on. But overall, I was like, I'm getting to see Boba Fett and or people that are dressed like Boba Fett on TV, and
Right.
with how little he was. I mean, he's such a huge character, and he was in Empire Strikes Back for like 3 minutes,
Right.
So it was cool to see that.
And that's why I think that I don't know. I like Boba Fett. I think a lot of people do like Boba Fett, but I think that Boba Fett works better as an enigma, as a
Yeah.
mystery. You know, that limited screen time that he does get in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, because he mostly serves as a plot device. He's mostly just there to bring Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt. And when you take away a little bit of that mystique, it's just to me, it's like the character's diluted and the character's kind of like that whole mystery is gone, you know, like. But I get why people like him, and I think that they wanted to do something different with him, and so they, you know, made a series based around him.
I mean, he had way more screen time in the holiday special. So, you know.
Yeah, exactly. um you know, as far as like back to the cards,
Mhm.
has there ever been any sort of controversy that has gone with the production of the cards?
There's been a couple that were taken down because of comments. Um, one that I one that I questioned doing originally. And I don't. I hate to say I have OCD because it's not crippling OCD by any means, but it was the completest OCD in me when I did the Misfits, and I was like, I try to keep politics out of this. I shouldn't post Michael Graves. And it got the best of me, and I posted the Michael Graves card, and it got enough comments that I was like, first I like shut off the comments on it. Then I was getting messages about it, and then I just took it down. So the Misfits, I think it's 32 people that were in the Misfits or something, but there is no Michael
Huh.
Graves card. Um,
Ah,
Also,
his
uh,
stuff
it,
is pretty good too.
oh yeah, I like those two records a lot. Well,
Yeah,
I like American Psycho a lot, and Famous Monsters I like, but I really like
yeah,
American Psycho a lot.
yeah.
Um, another one that was taken down, Amy, the original singer of Nausea. I did that card, and I posted it, and I tagged the band, and I got a very nice message from the band almost right away that said, Amy saw the card and is very flattered, but asked if you would take it down. And I didn't necessarily know this, but I think she literally is a brain surgeon. And she keeps her past life not secret, but separate.
Sure.
So, so that one I took down. Um, there's been a few others, but nothing, it is what it is. There's a couple of people who I feel like should have cards, and when I've contacted them, they've been like, "Oh, no, I don't need that, but thank you."
Yeah.
Um,
So you typically go and you get their permission before you do the cards, or do you do them and then you send them the card and be like, "Hey, I did this. Do you like this? Would you
no,
allow me to
I
post this?"
no, I like it to be a surprise most of the time. So really, I have a lot of downtime at my job, my
Mhm.
regular job. So somebody will pop into my head, or I heard a song on the way to work or something. I'll be like, oh, I should do that person. And then I'll just sit and I start doing the research. And if I can find what I think is all the information, then I don't contact the person or the band or anything. I just do it and I post it and I tag them and hope for the best. And like I said, there've been very few issues. The times I don't are when, or the times I do contact is when it's like, oh crap, I can't think of one now, but people where I'm looking and I'm like, it's impossible that this person wasn't in more bands than this, you know? And then because I want to have it as right as possible, then I'll try to contact the person. You know, and then there's been some that I've redone. So if the person was receptive the first time, like when I posted it without them knowing, and I say, all right, I know there's stuff missing, so I'm going to do this one over. Then I'll contact them and say, hey, so what is missing? Or I'll go through the comments too and say, oh, this person commented that this band wasn't on the back, so I add that to the list. And you know, it's like Jimmy from Murphy's Law was a good example. It's like the only band he's ever really been in is Murphy's Law, and then there was some guest vocals like with the Boss Tones and a H2O, I think, and a couple of others. But in the comments, somebody from Kraut commented that he was the original singer of Kraut. I was like, I had no idea about that. So
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so when I redid Jimmy's card, I added Kraut. You know, and my goal, like some people I'll say, well, did you have any bands before such and such a band? Like whatever one they're most famous for. Oh, nothing that's worth mentioning. And I'll say, well, no, it's all worth mentioning because the goal is for people to learn from the information on the back. It's not just to fill the space, because if it was, then I could just copy something from Wikipedia and put it in there. But the goal is for people to learn. And that's the reason they take so long, is because I start on Discogs and I find all the bands and guest appearances and all that stuff. Then there's a couple of other websites I'll use. And then if I think something's missing, then I'll start Googling for interviews with the person and see like, they'll talk about bands early on, usually at the beginning of an interview and stuff like that. Right. Because like I said, there's a handful where it's like, oh, this person's really only been in 3 or 4 bands. But then I did Igor from Sepultura, and his was like, I don't know, like 85 bands or something that he had.
He's been in a lot.
Yeah, and a lot of his were really like he was the drummer of this band for at least a period of time. There was some that were guest things, but yeah, he's had a lot of projects.
Yeah. Well, he was in Nail Bomb, wasn't he?
Oh no, that's Max. That's his brother.
Max was. Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't
Max,
sure if Igor had played in it as well.
Well, you know what? He may have after the fact. But like the Nail Bomb, the original Nail Bomb record was just Max, and I don't remember his name, but one of the guys from Fudge Tunnel. But I think later when Nail Bomb played live, like after Max left Sepultura, I think Igor probably was. I think Igor played in Earth Crisis for a little while.
I think you're right about that.
Maybe Strife, like a lot of bands. I think he's probably the one with the most credits.
Wow.
He's also,
that is crazy.
I guess I can say this because he'll probably never see this, but he was one of the people who he didn't ask, but he kind of hinted, because I had done a card of Max and the Cavalera Conspiracy page shared it, and Igor actually runs that Instagram page, and he kind of hinted like, well, can I get one too? Which is really the best part of this whole thing. It's amazing the people that contact me, and it's like, I don't know what they think it is. I think they think it's more than literally me sitting just at work and Googling Discogs stuff.
Right. Wow.
People that tell me, oh, it's such an honor to be included. And I'm like, oh, thank you for saying that, but I don't know.
doing what you do, and
Yeah.
I think it would be flattering. I mean, you're putting enough exhaustive research out there, and you're finding out about these people, and then you again doing something that's completely out of left field in order to honor their achievements, and therefore they feel honored about it. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I could understand having the reaction that you would. You're just like, I'm just
Yeah,
doing this as a fun thing.
I just don't want anybody, whether they're included or not, to think that it's some like gatekeeper who decides who is a legend, because I
Right.
I don't even, I came up with that name for the Instagram page, and I mean, I'm stuck with it now, but I mean,
Yeah.
legend is a weird thing, especially in punk music, It's like everybody's supposed to be the same, but you can't argue that Vinny Stigma and Paul Bearer and Jimmy G, they're legends. They will be,
Right.
and there's people that are more legendary that came before them. The Ramones
Right.
and the Buzzcocks, and
The
so
Damned. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's but when I get a message from somebody that is like the best one, honestly, was Dave Dichter from MDC. Sent me like a list
Oh,
of bands and said, "Do I qualify?" And I was like, "Yes, you qualify."
yeah.
Cheetah Chrome from the Dead Boys sent a message asking. I was
Wow.
like, "Holy crap!" Like, and
That's amazing though.
I sometimes like I honestly hope that there's no one out there that thinks they deserve a card that probably legitimately does. I'm not even saying thinks they deserve a card that I haven't got to yet because I haven't thought of them. I don't want anybody to feel excluded or think like,
Sure.
how could they do that person before they did mine? Because it's really all whoever pops into my. At the beginning, it was mostly my favorite people. Um,
Sure.
Now it's whoever pops into mind, and people that send like requests, not just for themselves, which we can kind of tie it in with earlier. I have a thing right now, and I'll probably just keep doing it. Anybody who donates $25, which will all go to Lou Kohler, whether it's a request that they want a card for themselves or they want a card made of somebody they know or somebody that they just love the band. I have a backlog of people that I want to do and I'm working on, but anybody who donates, they get put to the top of the list and posted as soon as possible. And I started doing
Hear
that a
that,
couple of
everybody?
weeks ago. And
Anybody that's listening,
yeah,
do it.
if you know what, if you don't think you're a hardcore legend and you want to be, now's your chance.
Now you're gonna be. Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
think I'm up to like $250 so far in a week or
It's
two
awesome.
weeks. So I figure
It's
any
great.
little bit helps.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, it's for a really noble cause. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
you know.
there's been some people that have said some things about, I can't. Somebody remarked to me, "Oh, they've raised this much money in GoFundMe donations." And it's like hospital bills are expensive.
Oh my
Hospital bills are
God.
expensive. I got I got hit by a car and I was uninsured and I had an emergency room visit and then all sorts of treatment after that. Fucking $250,000. And that's nothing like getting consistent chemotherapy,
Nope.
like that's like that's a lot of money, so and it's like the man's on death's door. Forgive me for saying that, but like he's really struggling right now. I hope he does better because he has the capacity to, because he did in the past, but like,
Yep.
it's gonna cost money. It's gonna require him to go back and get treatment, and you know, like he deserves this. So I think what you're doing is for a great cause. I think that you know anybody should donate to that. I think that's what we should do for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, well, you said that there's the GoFundMe, there's your thing with all your merchandise. Everybody's doing their own thing. Um, I can't say I donated that money when I sold all the trading cards. I mean, I put them together and I mailed them all out. And yes, all the money came into me, but I didn't donate that money. It was hundreds of people that donated $20 a time, at a time to buy the packs of cards. And,
Right.
that's big. That's community, it's
Yeah,
important.
for sure, for sure. Um, you know, as far as your life is concerned, I guess my question to you would be, because you've led a really interesting life, and I think you're doing a great thing. But if you had one piece of advice to give to your younger self, what do you think it would be?
Um, it's okay to not fit in even with the other people who don't fit in. Like there's some. I don't go to as many shows as I used to. Um, but there's some every once in a while. Well, I go enough, but there's some shows I go to, and once in a while I'll be there and I'll be like, I'm supposed to really like this band based on these other bands I like, and based on, like, I have so much in common with all these other people who are here, and I'm like, but I'm bored. Like, I don't really like this band, and it sucks, so not that I do it now, but I think a lot of young people, it's like, well, I got to pretend I like that, because I'm part of this group that, like, doesn't fit in. But
Hmm.
it's all right to, I mean, I think Kiss is a perfect example. Like, Kiss has been one of my favorite bands forever. They probably always will be. They've got like 50 records. At least 20 of them are probably unlistenable, but the ones that are good enough. And,
Sure.
it's Kiss is kind of a bad example because, like you said, they were such a gateway for so many people that ended up playing punk and hardcore. But there was a time when it was like, oh my God, you like Kiss? That's embarrassing. But it's all right. And like I said, the bands that I was in high school and shortly after that, it was like, in hindsight, we were playing funk metal when it was like, I don't even know what we're playing. Like, there wasn't a genre. And then it was like, oh, we're playing rapcore, but the first Limp Bizkit record isn't even out yet. So what is this? Like,
Right.
we're writing these songs because we liked the Judgment Night soundtrack, but it wasn't a genre,
Right.
and in hindsight, it could be embarrassing, but it doesn't matter. I was playing music with my friends and we had fun, and that's all that mattered,
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
this
And
many years later.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, considering what that whole kind of genre became, definitely like it. You could say that you were one of the trailblazers for that. So, but I'm
Yeah,
with you.
it's like at the
Go ahead.
time, like in band photos, I'm wearing a Slapshot shirt, and we're like I said, making like an early Limp Bizkit record, and it's like people would look at it and be like, well, he can't like that because he's playing that. And but it's like, just do you.
Right. Well, I hate to break it to some folks, but that first Limp Bizkit album, it's kind of good.
Oh,
Like some heavy shit on there.
I mean, God, I saw Korn, and they were opening. They were the first band, and it was Korn, Biohazard, The Gravediggers, and House of Pain.
Oh my god.
And that was, like I said, that was just the first Korn record was out. You know.
There's a few. I largely think the first Corn record is. I mean, I don't like. Okay, here's my problem. I think if you replace Jonathan Davis, Corn would have been huge within like the hardcore scene. I'm not a huge Jonathan Davis, like his whiny vocals and like the subject matter that he chooses to sing about. But I've had this discussion with one of my friends before. If you replace Jonathan Davis as vocalist, anybody that liked fucking Disembodied or Bloodlit or any of those bands would have loved Korn. Would have
Yep.
loved Korn easily, hands down. Because that first album, like that song "Clown," it's good as shit. You know, like it's a little, you know, again, John Davis melodrama, whiny vocals or whatever, but like the music is fucking solid. You know, and I stand by that. I maintain that. So
I
whatever.
think I've I think I've just always liked combinations of things. You know, I really liked the Judgment Night soundtrack. Before that, I really liked there was a Butch Vig heavy metal remix of a House of Pain song, and I was like, this is awesome. And then the Helmet and House of Pain song, and
Yeah.
then just Biohazard, the band that they were, like it, you know, even before the Biohazard and Onyx thing, and way
Yeah.
before that, you had Public Enemy and Anthrax, and you know, I just always liked it. Didn't it doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to have a hip hop element to it, but I like two
Right.
things converging.
Well, and to speak of comics and even Korn, like, do you remember the Spawn soundtrack for the
Oh yeah,
movies?
yep,
It's an excellent soundtrack,
yep,
and it's like
absolutely.
metal bands that cross over with like electronic bands. Like I love that Slayer Atari Teenage Riot
Yeah,
song
oh,
that
that
they
one is
have on
awesome.
there. Fucking awesome. That was my first exposure to Atari Teenage Riot, and then I
Yep,
saw them subsequently 3 times after that, and it was because of that soundtrack.
I
Because
never
that
saw
soundtrack
them.
is amazing.
Yeah, I never saw them, but that was my first exposure to them too. And then I got, you know, just their music after that. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good thing, you know?
Well, every time I saw Atari Teenage Riot, it was always on accident. Like I went and saw them with they opened the Rage Against the Machine Wu-Tang tour in '97, and I was like,
Wow.
who, like I'd heard about them, but I wasn't going to see them. And then I went and checked out the Spawn soundtrack, and I'm like, oh, this band is awesome. I'm gonna look forward to this, you know. And then I went to a Fuji Rock festival in Japan, and it wasn't Atari Teenage Riot, it was Alec Empire, but it was basically like Atari Teenage Riot, you know.
Yep.
And he was there, and I was like, and then I was in Europe, and Atari Teenage Riot was playing at a festival. So it was like I'd never planned to go see them. Every time I saw them, it was just like by proxy because I was seeing like some other bands or something like that, you know. So, but yeah, I'm with you. I love when there's like a hybridization of two things that people may not think would go together, but then they end up going together. I don't particularly care for the music, but my buddy just introduced me to this band, Bill Murray. Have you heard of them?
No.
It's like country and metal, and it's
Huh.
like I don't particularly, you know, I don't particularly would, I don't think I would find myself gravitating towards that, like listening to that, but like they do it well. Like I could see it easily being on the radio or something like that. They're really good at what they do, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you could
Yeah,
kind of
so
look at the cards are almost a hybrid of things because you've got
exactly.
I put Kevin Seconds, who wrote a song called "I Hate Sports," on a baseball card. You know? So
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
you've got I mean, probably at least a third of the people on the cards are those people who would say like, yeah, I hate sports. And then you've got
Yeah.
the other guys like, you know, an Al Baril who loved hockey, played
Yeah.
hockey. um, Even if, you know, like 10-yard fight, you know, I honestly don't know any of their positions on sports, but so they're a football themed hardcore band on a sports card. So it,
Yeah.
you know, you've got I yeah, like I said, I've just always liked like Reese's peanut butter cups, I
Juxtaposing
guess.
things. Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good analogy, really. You know, and I'm with you in the not fitting in the hardcore scene thing too. Like I definitely, you know, I feel like I'm an outsider sometimes. I mean, I definitely made a lot of friends, but that's probably a more common attitude than we would even think. You know, like there's
Yeah, I
probably
think
people
so.
here that are like, you know, in the back of their mind, like I don't belong here, you know, and it's this whole like motley assortment of people that don't feel like they belong there, but yet they simultaneously do, you know?
Yep.
What are you watching currently? What are you watching, reading, listening to? I know you said you're not a big like reader, but like what what kind of media are you consuming at present?
It's mostly lately. It's been short, meaning like under an hour and a half. Uh,
Like the
like
sitcoms and stuff.
oh no, no. I've been doing movies lately, but like under an hour and a half movies, and I'll go to like Tubi or one of the things like
Yeah.
that, and I my favorite horror movie of all time is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So
Fucking
anything
masterpiece.
anything that involves uh like a home invasion, cannibalism, or like a crazy family in the woods, like I'll read the 2 sentence description and be like, oh, okay, I'll watch that. As long as it's under, if it's over an hour and a half, then I look more into it and decide if it's going to
Yeah,
be worth my time. Literally, even
sure.
if it's like an hour and 40 minutes, I'm like, I got to decide. But um,
Yeah,
a
man.
lot of stuff like that.
If you can make it a tight 90, that's an indicator of a good filmmaker. I mean, I used to watch a lot of long films, but man, I don't know if I can do it anymore. Like I just don't have the time or the patience.
Well, especially horror movies. A horror movie doesn't need to be that long.
No. No.
I've
No.
been watching stuff that I never saw, which is good. But I also it's very unpopular opinion, but I just rewatched the Human Centipede trilogy, which in my opinion is the
Oh,
second best trilogy of all time. It's Star
really?
Wars, the original Star Wars, and then the Human Centipede. And have you ever seen them?
No, I can't.
Okay,
Just based on the premise, I can't do it. I was like,
it's
no.
it's so crazy meta. So the first movie is crazy doctor in the woods, and these girls end up at his house, and he's already got this guy kidnapped, and he connects the three of them. The second movie is all black and white, and it's a guy who never talks, and he works in a parking garage in a booth, and he just sits in this booth all day watching the Human Centipede movie over and over and goes,
Oh.
I can do that. So not only does he get 9 people, his 10th person is an actress from the Human Centipede 1
Oh,
that
wow.
he tricks into thinking this is a cast and then puts her in a real human centipede.
Oh,
And
God.
then part 3 takes place in a prison, and the prison, they're spending too much money on food, so they got to cut the costs. And somebody comes in with the DVDs of Human Centipede 1 and 2 and says, we could probably do this. You should call Tom Six, the guy who wrote these movies. So then the guy who wrote them comes into the prison and says, well, it was just a movie, but I guess you could try it. And then they connect 100 people. So
Oh,
it's
Jesus.
it's very, very meta.
Yeah, well, sounds like it. I mean, and that's kind of a clever idea, actually. But en masse, man, like I guess probably with the exception of Texas Chainsaw, if it involves like torture or it involves like body horror, I mean, I don't know. I like Society and Reanimator and stuff like that. But like if it involves body horror or like torture, I can't say the word on here. You know the word I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Corn, torture, corn.
Yeah.
If it's any sort of that kind of stuff, like I'm just out, like the
I get it. I
Terrifier,
do.
that's Terrifier's too much. I'm like, no, this is too gory. I love stuff that's more like psychological or very minimalistic, like horror. Like that's my jam kind of stuff. Like stuff that's very low key. Love culty stuff, like stuff that involves cults and secret societies and stuff like that. That stuff is my jam. But yeah, I don't know if I could ever bring myself to watch Human Centipede. I
It's
Saw was
very
enough for me.
understandable. It's understandable.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like the Saw movies too, especially I forget which ones, but like I think it might be 3 and 4 that like take place during each other. Like I just love that concept.
Yeah. I loved the first one. I thought it was great. Carrie Elwes's bad American accent and all.
Yeah.
Well, man, I really appreciate you for being on this show. Where can we find you at on Instagram?
It's at Hardcore Legends on Instagram, or you can just go to www.hardcorelegendstradingcards.com, and it just takes you to the Instagram as of now.
Okay.
I'd like to. I'm working on a spreadsheet that will ideally be searchable by band and by person, because I mean, God, with my note, I forget the number, but I mean, I think as of now there's, I don't know, 767 cards posted. So I get
Wow.
people that ask like, "Oh, hey, did you do so and so?" And I'm like, "Oh crap, I don't even know. Like I got to go back and look." And that's 767 different people, because there's a few,
Right.
like Marky Ramone has two cards because he's got one with the Ramones and one with the Misfits, and Bobby Steele has one with the Misfits and one with the Undead. And then a few, Drew Stone does the New York Hardcore Chronicles podcast, or video
Right.
podcast, almost every week. And
2 hours before this one, and anybody who's listening, go check out his show because it's like Leno and then Letterman, you know.
yeah,
So
and he debuts a lot of cards on there. So if he's having somebody on that I did a card of way back, then I'll redo it and repost it, but it gets the same number. So that 767 is all individual different people. So
that's
it's a
awesome, man.
lot. So I'd like to get a spreadsheet online at some point. Probably at that web address would make sense, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good idea. And man, you're putting in the work, dude. Like this sounds like uh a really just challenging endeavor, but also rewarding because it's chronicling history and you're learning more about these people, and you're also putting your funds towards good causes and things that are helping people out in the hardcore scene that are in need. So I think it's great, man. I think you're doing a good thing, and I continue to wish you luck on this whole journey and endeavor of yours.
So before we go, Drew gets most of the card debuts, but
Yeah.
we can
Oh, oh my
so
God. Holy shit. Look at that. Oh man, thank you.
so
That's so sweet.
this one I guess can be proofed just in case, because now it's not a surprise before it goes on.
I'm wearing the
But
same fucking shirt too.
um it can be proofed, but this one for all your viewers and listeners
Dude.
live and
Oh
after,
man.
they can see this on the
Thank you
Instagram
so
page.
much. Oh dude, that's so great. That's fucking awesome, man.
And
God bless you. That's great.
that'll actually go into the archive of oversized cards. Like
Oh wow.
everybody here has one of these and has signed one. So I
Oh
mean,
sweet.
uh, uh, Roger, Stigma, Craig from Only Living Witness and Agnostic Front, Jimmy. I mean, all the Murphy's Law guys. This actually, I know we're almost done, but so this is Mike from Kill Your Idols. He
Oh cool.
he actually plays bass and guitar. He does not sing in a band. This is
Uh-huh.
my favorite card because I did this long before the one that you used in the ad for the show. This was one of the last Kuya shows, I think, and that's me playing bass behind Mike, because we played a Warzone
Oh
song
cool.
and Mike came up to sing it. So that was like my little Easter egg. I got Drew,
That's so cool.
Go Bordello, Judge, all the guys from Judge. This one is crazy because Matt Pincus said that is really his signature all the time.
Oh really? Whoa.
Yeah,
That's not even a doctor signature. That's more
no,
like a
like
drunken.
all the guys from Drop Dead, because they're like Rhode Island heroes.
Oh, nice.
Jeez, I don't know. Converge. Some guys that I never would even think would be aware of what I'm doing. Oh, like guys from Guar and Corrosion of Conformity, and every one of these guys all has. Oh, Ricky Rackman.
Oh, cool. He lives here now, where I live.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ace from LA Guns. This guy was my barber before I stopped getting haircuts. But so yeah, everybody there has one of those, whether they're super famous like, you know, Roger and Stigma and Jacob from Converge, or, you know, just really nice people like the guy who used to be my barber.
this no jack right here. That is now a legend. Yes, that's so
There
awesome.
you go.
But dude, thank you so much. That's gonna be cool. I'm stoked on that. And dude, like I said, I want to thank you for being here, and please everybody support Josh over at Hardcore Legends Trading Cards, because it's a really cool thing. Give him a follow on Instagram, and be sure to give him a donation. Like I said, if you want a card, or if you want to get a card for somebody else, like I'm going to be getting some of my friends some eventually, some people that I feel like deserve to be amongst the legends of hardcore. So I really appreciate everybody being here. Like I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, if you go to the QR code in the left corner there, you can donate to Lou from Sick of It All's GoFundMe. You can also buy shirts from his brother Pete on his Instagram at I don't know what the exact address is, but I'll post it in the comments here. And pick up my buddy John Cuccinello's Come Inside and Meet My Punk Rock Family on Rev HQ. 12% of the proceeds will go towards St. Jude's Children's Hospital, so it's for a great cause, and it's going to sell out. Great. And as I had mentioned, hellsheartco.bigcartel.com. Use the code podcast for 20% off your entire order. Find Bella Canvas Next Level Tri-Blend t-shirts. They feel amazing. If you like movies, if you like hardcore, check it out. Pick up a copy. Pick up a copy. Pick up, you know what the fuck I mean. But anybody, everybody, yeah. Okay. Everybody, thank you so much for attending this stream. I really appreciate all the support, and Josh will appreciate all the support as well. So namaste, God bless, be good.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Josh. Oh, dude. Oh, man. Crazy.
Hell's heart, life's a game. Money, power, the price of fame. Hell's heart.